Welcome to the largest Tesla Supercharger in the world. This is Barstow, California, and this is a 120 stall Tesla Supercharger, all with V4 dispensers, V3 cabinets. So I guess you could say V3.5, depending on who you are. That's what this system really is. But it's a pretty full-fledged site for charging on the road. But it's really not the most ideal charging stop. Let me explain. So Barstow has actually been a big name for superchargers for a long time. They actually have, I think, over 206 charge points at this point. Well, maybe exactly 206, because there's this site with 120 chargers. There's also another site just a few miles down the road with, I think, 70 chargers perhaps. And then another site with 16 chargers, so that equals 206. There's also, of course, destination chargers around here, and I think Barstow even had the last installment of the city chargers, or whatever they were called, you know, the 72 kilowatt ones. Those are not really a thing anymore, but Barstow has been a place to put chargers, and for obvious reasons. This is the crux of I-15, but also I-40. This is the route from LA to Las Vegas, which is a very, very trafficked, heavily populated route. So there's lots of charging on this corridor. Even about 50 miles that way in Baker, another huge installment of like 90 something chargers. So Brandon Flash and my friend Talik over at Charge Positive, they've both done some great videos on this site in general, but before it was completely done, but also the other sites. So I'll leave those linked below. But as far as this site goes, yes, it is impressive at full scale. So the solar panels themselves, nearly half a megawatt, 495 kilowatts worth of power at peak, of course. You won't really see peak that often, but I feel like they should have just added like one more solar panel to get that half a megawatt number. That would have been pretty cool. So I guess from a solar standpoint, it could support maybe a couple cars charging at once, but that's not really the point of solar when you see solar canopies on any charging station in general. Typically those are used to run like the lights, although in this case they probably do feed into the grid somehow, because there's no way there's 495 kilowatts of these little dinky LED lights. But it's pretty cool to see them all hooked up. On both Talik and Brandon's videos, they were not quite fully installed yet, so this is actually the entire installation, as you can see. So you see all the cables running underneath them. That's pretty cool to see, but I don't see any actual battery storage system here like we see in the Baker one, for example. But no matter what, the solar is functional. I mean, it does provide covered charging, and you know, we have had a lot of rain in this region. I'm on a road trip right now, by the way, from Denver to LA. That's over on the Spec motoring channel, or will be in the coming weeks. But they do provide functional cover from rain and storms and those types of things, and even sunlight, because this is the desert and it does get super hot, but not everything is actually covered for some reason. I'm really curious as to why the site is like this. You see over here, the Cybertruck is charging, and there's no solar canopy right there, but there are a bunch of handicapped stalls over there, which is good. Some accessible stalls kind of on the ends of the aisles. See way over there. I guess there's just a couple here. So not that many accessible handicap stalls. But otherwise, the layout is pretty simple. It's just stalls around the edges, and then there's one canopy in the middle here with stalls on both sides right there. There's one pull-through site that we'll get to in a second, and here's kind of a backup, I guess. It says no parking, but really if that one pull-through site is taken by someone either towing or not towing, then you either, I guess, have to wait, or you can come down here and park and charge at one of these. I really don't know why this would say no parking. I guess so they don't want people just to park here for no reason, but maybe I should say like no parking except for towing, because I really do feel like these should be labeled as backup towing ones, because 120 stalls, surely you could have more than one stall for towing, or make it say use towing last. In the far corner down here, you also see 1, 2, 3, 4 destination chargers. These should be, I believe, probably 11 kilowatts, and they are, I guess, closest to the hotel, so that does kind of make sense. But I'm kind of surprised to see only 4 destination chargers versus 120 DC fast chargers. but these are properly labeled and they are 48 amps. So that is good to see. You can get up to about 11 kilowatts, which is pretty nice, honestly. If you want to get some Barstow burgers or IHOP or Fuzzies, or even catch a movie at the movie theater right over here, these destination chargers might be a good option. But let's talk amenities. There doesn't seem to be the best amount. That's not the leading draw to bring people here. I guess this is a functional charger where people are driving on this huge corridor between some of these big cities out here. But as far as stopping and going somewhere, I mean, I guess you can walk across parking lots to get to Barstow Burger, IHOP, Fuzzy's Tacos, which I do like, I guess. And there's also the Southern Twist soul food place. Like, there's a few spots where you could stop and eat, but honestly, quite a few of them, such as IHOP and this soul food, you're gonna be stopping and eating longer than it would take to actually charge. So it's kind of that awkward time limitation issue. Then there's a slight elephant in the room of 120 chargers and no actual restrooms on site. They do list restroom as a nearby thing on the app, but like, that's kind of a stretch, I feel like. In most all these places, you do have to be a customer to use the restroom, and the bathrooms in the gas station nearby, which are usually your best bet, are not even accessible unless you buy something and then get the code from the person. Even then, me and Jess are charging here, we just purchase stuff to get the bathroom code, and then they're like, oh, sorry, the bathroom's code for like closed for cleaning. And they didn't seem like interested at all to like hurry up the process or give people access. It was like begrudgingly giving people access. So I don't feel like that's the best experience from a restroom perspective. And if this is a corridor charger where people are probably on a road trip, you'd want restrooms to be maybe a focus. I don't know. I mean, it's wild to me to see so many chargers here, so much room where they could have put some restroom facilities. And we've seen that at other Tesla Superchargers before in some other places where there are bathrooms, but it's not, I guess, that commonplace at Superchargers. They do often rely on nearby businesses. It's definitely not anything like the likes of Iona or some of these other like Rove charging, like some other charging hubs where it feels like genuinely a really cool place where I'd try to go. Now that I've visited this place, I don't think I'll actually willingly come back. So food options, restroom options, pretty mediocre, but do they at least have other amenities like trash, recycling, window cleaning? Well, sort of. You do see trash cans and recycling cans pretty much all over the place, although a few of them are overflowing just a bit, and there is nothing in sight for actual window cleaning, which I feel like would be nice on a road trip area such as this corridor. Over here we see cabinets connecting to the grid. Well, actually over here is probably where their transformer is connecting to the grid. And then there's power cabinets here, as well as connects for the photovoltaic systems, aka the solar panel systems. But yeah, no actual battery management or mega packs or anything over here to help with the grid, which I'm sure they don't necessarily need it. But I'd be curious to see what this station would look like if it was actually full. And basically in the last like 12 to 16 hours when I was sort of routing here and keeping an eye on it, I never saw more than 25 stalls taken. So it's never been like more than 25% full. So you probably wouldn't really realistically ever see a power limitation here. Technically, yes, if everyone showed up at the same time with under 30% because of the mediocre charging curves, you could see maybe some site level power sharing weaknesses, but realistically, nah. So this is at least a good option if you want to guarantee full power, pull in dead, rip a charge, and then continue on to maybe some other place with better facilities. But the grounds themselves are like, okay, I mean, you have gravel, cool, you have two different types of gravel, but like, I feel like this is where you could have put some restroom facilities. They do have plants that are, I guess, planted, but like, don't really add anything. In fact, they kind of look like weeds. Yes, eventually, maybe this will be more of a tree, but I don't know. It doesn't really seem like the best looking situation here. This random wire is just sticking up out of the ground for some reason. Not really sure why. And I think someone reversed into this pylon thing right here and just yeeted it out of the ground and then just kind of left it there. Not really sure. It might have been a Cybertruck. I have seen some people comment on the internet saying that they've tried to park a Cybertruck and then have had issues reaching some of the cables because of how they're laid out with some stalls. Not every stall is the same, but at least these are the V4 dispensers with longer cables. So other non-Teslas can charge on these much easier than most of the V3 dispensers. So here on this end is another few dispensers with no canopies. So it's very strange to me that there's like maybe 10 dispensers with no canopies and then another 110 with canopies. Really no idea why, but I guess there is the odd chance of someone wanting to pull in and intentionally not wanting any sort of cover. That's totally plausible. But as far as non-Tesla access, I believe this entire site is open to non-Teslas, and you can even see on the screen here, plug in to charge, 56 cents per kilowatt hour, $1 per minute idle fees, up to that. That's if you don't have Tesla's membership to buy down the rate. It's not entirely unique to Tesla. EA has the same type of thing. So the pricing is probably somewhat comparable, but for Teslas, at least as of right now, 43 cents per kilowatt hour, which is still a little bit pricey. But we are charging right over here, and we are next to the only pull-through spot. So if you are pulling a trailer, either in your Cybertruck or could be a Model Y or something, this is the one spot, and there is a trailer here. So it says priority use for trailers, please use last Tesla. And there's like a very Cybertruck shaped trailer. So at least this is now marked. I believe it wasn't in the past. But yeah, hopefully this dispenser has good uptime, and hopefully no one else takes it out of laziness. It's not like a very obvious, like there's a little sign right there, but you could easily miss it. So I wish they had like trailer written right there. It is cool to see how it was probably built. I mean, Tesla is known for having these prefab setups, so they just show up on a semi-truck, and you can see the concrete cut out here. This whole slab of 4 dispensers is one single piece that was prefab somewhere else, and that way they can really quickly, easily deploy this whole thing. So I'm sure this whole location was actually deployed fairly quickly. I don't actually know the entire timeline, and I know they had some striation of, you know, part of it being open for Thanksgiving, more of it being open for Christmas, but then they had to close it down to do some more paving and stuff. So it's been a gradual I guess rollout of its full functionality, but now it's fully deployed. As far as redundancy and uptime, well, I believe at this moment there's only 2 dispensers not working, so that means 118 working, which means I don't think that's going to be an issue for pretty much anyone. And conveniently, when you pull in here with your Tesla, assuming you were navigating to it, once you arrive, your car will tell you on the screen which ones are not working. So they have fantastic integration. We all know that. We're all well aware of that. But yeah, pretty cool spot, I guess, from a glimpse, from an aerial point of view as you're driving by. Pretty impressive, but honestly, it's not my favorite spot. I think I've realized I value amenities a lot, and having visited on our Rechargery, I've been spoiled. Okay, well, my opinion is one thing, but I have Jess here with me, of course. We're on our road trip to LA. And what do you think of this giant charger? I mean, I kind of hyped it up a little bit. I was like, oh, we're going to see the biggest supercharger in the world. What's your impression now?
I don't get it. If there's a reason you want to see like 100 of these chargers together, then great. But other than 100 of these chargers that look exactly the same, all built next to each other, there is absolutely nothing here. I cannot not recommend this stuff enough.
Okay, so I kind of talked about no restrooms. I mean, there's some sort of decent food nearby, but also like it's not the best options. You do have to walk across a slightly busy street to get slightly better options maybe. But what do you feel like is missing, especially from a dog owner perspective?
I mean, grass, number one. It's also just like dirty. Like there's like trash.
There's like just litter on the ground.
Yeah, and I feel like because there are no bathrooms, like, I don't know, my dogs were sniffing at things that were too high to be like dog pee spots, you know, like up on a pole or like up on the light post or like up on a tree. Like, they were like trying to sniff up here. Like, that was too high to be where a dog peed. So I think the fact that it doesn't have bathrooms definitely just makes it feel less like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what y'all men be doing out here, but.
No, I'm curious. I mean, this is a pretty new spot. So this opened initially in Thanksgiving. They had 80 spots open, and then they had another 20 open, I think, or maybe the rest of them were open by Christmas, but like the solar wasn't hooked up and some other things weren't complete. So now we're seeing it in May. It is Star Wars Day, so for reference, May 4th, 2025. I'm really curious to see what this place will look like 6 months from now, a year from now. Like, how will it hold up?
I feel like they had such an opportunity, like if this was going to be the biggest in the world, they had such an opportunity to make it like a really cool Tesla destination, and they just like utterly fell flat with that. Like it just feels like any other charging station. And I think even the way that it's built, like it doesn't feel like that much bigger than like some of the other ones that we've maybe seen.
Yeah. And it is, it's like barely bigger. So I don't know. My theory is maybe it's like a in-between spot. Like I think they're working on another one somewhere that's 168 stalls. And so that will then be the biggest. So they weren't even banking on this being like the biggest in the world. And this is kind of the in-between phase where they are technically newer dispensers, but they're older cabinets. So it's not even like leading in terms of technology. So maybe this is literally just like them throwing stuff out there to ease some of the traffic on this route, but also, the bars, I feel like the bar has been raised a bit by some other charging locations, and this is like not a trendsetter at all. Yeah. Hopefully not. I don't want to see more of this.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Other than it being like the biggest so far, there's nothing notable about this stop.
Yeah. So I'm curious what you guys think of this Barstow location. I feel like it was hyped up a little bit too much for what it has to offer, and it makes me even more excited to see some other companies like Iona bringing more interesting charging to the California area. There are other cool superchargers out here. I mean, there's other spaces in the corridor up like the I-5 region between the Bay Area and LA. And even further down the road, there's other superchargers with a lot of dispensers that have maybe a bit better amenities. But I guess superchargers in general aren't really known for having that amazing of facilities. So kind of a bummer, but I'll take it. It's better than having nothing. It's nice to have the peace of mind of setting out from LA to Vegas, not worrying about how busy will holiday weekends be. There's so many stalls here, plus so many stalls down the road in either direction. So between this whole like 80-mile stretch, anyone can plug in. There's like 300 plus charging points. Electrify America also has stuff down in Baker. Like there's a lot of charging options. And of course, these being Magic Docks means pretty much anyone is open to it. So it's kind of a shame. I mean, I've been to many charging spots, including the Supercharger on the I-5 area, but also some chargers over in Europe. And of course the Iona rechargeries, where it's like, I don't really want to leave. I'd love to hang out there, work a bit, enjoy the space, enjoy the time. This has some palm trees, has, well, lots of chargers, but like there's nothing that makes me want to stay here any longer than I have to. And that to me means not the best charger. So for me, all those things together means this is really not the best location, not my favorite. I don't think I'll be too upset if I do skip out on this in the future. But it was cool to see the current world's largest supercharger. Thanks for watching.